Okay, this is a little bit frustrating in a weird kind of way. This watch ticks all my why I don't need to have this watch boxes, and yet I can't stop wearing it. From the moment I unboxed this watch about a week ago until now, it is on my side table waiting patiently for me to put it on once I'm done filming all my other watches that are in my current review queue. So I decided to get to the bottom of this somewhat worrisome and definitely not rational attraction. So what is it that is so alluring about this figure? Well, in this video, I hope to find out. Hello and welcome back. So yes, I know this watch might look like a perfection incarnated for pilot watch purists. No date, well-balanced A-type flicker dial, it has pilot size, so none of this under 40mm pretend flicker proportions, and, oh heavens, it has a manual wind mechanical movement. Well, none of these features, apart from possibly the case size, are on my wish list when it comes to wrist watches. As you probably know, I like my date window, and if I have a choice between A or B type flicker, I usually go for B because I think it looks more interesting. And yet, none of these rules are applicable here because I'm still drawn to this pilot. So my guess is that it has something that totally outweighs all those shortcomings, and it does indeed, and it is not just one thing. Like for starters, I think this watch has a build quality that no watch at this price should be allowed to have. Okay, and before we get too deep into this review, a quick disclaimer: for full transparency, Hruodland did send me this watch review and I get to keep it as well. So, in some way, this review is sponsored by them. In return, as per usual, I'll do my best to share a comprehensive review of this timepiece, and, of course, all the links to product listings as well as discount codes will be in the description of this video. And I will talk a bit more in detail about the pricing at the end too, so don't forget to take note of that. And yes, you can just skip right to the end of the video if you want to. Okay, this is a bit tricky, and I found the history of how this design came about quite intriguing. So if we do a quick search on the interweb, we will find that this watch is homaging a very special IWC pilot concept watch that was designed about 20 years ago for watchmaking competition by Marcus Böhler. In 2008, IWC released that watch as a limited edition of 12 pieces only, so yes, very little chance of getting that one. However, that's not the end of the story. Fast forward about 15 years to 2003, and IWC decided to create a homage to that very special watch, but this time taking it to the next level. So IWC decided to use an automatic tourbillon movement, which is of course much more complicated and yes, much more expensive. Then IWC decided to make it even more special by making the case out of platinum instead of stainless steel. And if that wasn't enough, they made it a limited edition, building 51 pieces only, pricing each at about 125,000 Swiss francs, which is an equivalent of about $137,000. So yes, good luck getting this one too. Now back to this Hruodland, and they obviously drew inspiration from that concept 2008 limited edition run, and they even used Seagull ST36 movement, which is quite appropriately based on the same unitas architecture like the movement in IWC watch, which I think is pretty cool. And there is more to this movement than catches the eye, and we will definitely talk more about it shortly. And before we look at specifications in detail, it is worth mentioning that Hruodland offers this watch in a few different colorways, black and blue. I went this time for a blue dial on the brown leather strap, and I can say that renders simply don't do it justice. So this is a pilot watch, and we have 43mm diameter, lug-to-lug distance is 51.7mm, and the lug width of 22mm, which all might sound a bit intimidating. However, I think that saving grace of this watch is how thin Hruodland managed to make the case. This figure is only 12mm thin, and combined with the flat back of the case and well-sculpted down-pointing lugs, we have a watch that wears very comfortably, and not just on my about 7-inch wrist, but on a smaller, about 6¼ inch wrist too, and I will of course demonstrate it a bit later in this video. The typical pilot-style riveted leather strap has a nice taper down to 18mm at the buckle. The double-sided leather strap is deceivingly simple, like actually the rest of this watch. At a close examination, the strap features a quick release mechanism. It is sealed on both sides, so should provide a decent resistance to moisture. The stitching is well done, and we get a signed mirror-polished stainless steel buckle, which is also removable and can be reused if we are to replace the strap in the future. The only minor complaint I have about the strap is that it is quite stiff, at least from new, and it will probably require a bit of a breaking in. And to finish off with the strap and dimensions, as supplied, this strap is long enough to cover wrists up to 8¼ of an inch or 21 centimeters, and this watch weighs 88 grams, which is a pretty good weight for such a prominent timepiece. As I mentioned earlier, this fully stainless steel construction case has very well sculpted pointing down lugs. The bevel on the fixed bezel is mirror polished, while the rest of the case surfaces feature a brushed finish. Okay, apart from the bevels that run along the case flanks and as such create a really elegant visual break between the top and the sides of the case. Another very distinct feature of this watch is this well sculpted onion-shaped crown. This is a manual wind movement, so there will definitely be more than usual interaction with the crown, so it better be good looking and, yes, comfortable. And this push-pull crown with laser-etched logo of the airplane ticks both boxes. I like the way it looks, and it sure is a pleasure to operate. Flipping the case over, and we see more well-defined brushed surfaces and the exhibition caseback with a massive opening for us to fully enjoy a view of the movement. This pilot watch has 50 meters of water resistance, which makes sense with the use of push-pull crown, so we are covered for hands washing and occasional splashes, however, definitely not for swimming, which should be fine for a pilot-style watch. I really like the clarity on this ever so slightly curved double dome sapphire crystal. It sits a fraction of a millimeter proud of the bezel, which should help to protect the mirror polished bezel from scratches, and it provides excellent view of the dial. I couldn't find any mentioning of air coating on the product listings, however, the legibility of this clear crystal is really good, so I have no complaints. And while I have my diamond tester warmed up, it is a good time to test the exhibition back of this case. And what do you know? It is also sapphire crystal. It is very rare that I get a sapphire sandwich timepiece on the channel, so definitely another plus for Hruodland here. And of course, having a highly scratch-resistant sapphire on the back will ensure a clear view of the movement for years to come. And talking about the movement, we have here a variation of Seagull caliber ST36, which is based on the Swiss ETA 6498 Unitas movement. If you recall a bit earlier in this video, I mentioned that this is a similar type Unitas manual wind movement that was used in the IWC concept Turbine watch. Now, the design pattern for ETA Unitas movement expired some years ago, which allowed Seagull to produce absolutely legitimately movements based on the same architecture, with slightly different dial layouts and different levels of decoration. And that is exactly what we have here. This is not the most mesmerizing movement to look at, however, the finishing is very meticulous. We have a Geneva stripes running across most of the visible plates. The plates also have nice beveling applied pretty much everywhere, and the blued screws create good contrast with metal finishing and the jewels. And another quite an important fact is that this is a very budget-friendly movement, so in case of the servicing, we can replace actually the whole movement for under $40. And this movement, despite its relevant simplicity, delivers a very decent accuracy, as you can see on my time grapher. And another peculiar characteristic of this movement is the power reserve, with numbers on the interweb varying from 36 up to 48 hours and even some anecdotal evidence of 58 hours. So, as I usually do in such cases, I decided to test it for myself, and to my surprise, while your mileage may vary, so to my surprise, this particular watch ran for 53.5 hours after I fully wound it. Quite impressive considering the price point. Now, I must say that the dial on this watch is done really well. We have a blue version here, which comes with this beautiful Stormy Skies dark shade of blue with a very subtle sunburst effect. Everyone who saw this dial while I was filming it commented on how intriguing this blue was. We have printed minute chaptering and masterfully applied our indices as well as a triangle and 2 dots at 12 o'clock position. The applied indices as well as the prominent sword style hands have high polished perimeters that bounce the light for a better legibility and for more premium look. And as we will see in a moment, all these components, the hands and the hour indices are well filled with lume. I try to take as many macro shots of this really well executed dial, so I hope you can enjoy all the intricate details, like tubing around the pinion at the center of the dial and of course the second hand sub-dial with a turbine with a red dot performing the function of a second hand. And as I promised earlier, here is the lume. It looks like we have a multiple layers of BGW9 superlumen over here, because this is probably one of the best looms I've seen on a pilot watch on the channel so far. It lasts a long time and really doesn't need that much to get going. Right, so this pilot is usually priced at around $180. The shop that sent it to me for review suggested that they will have even a better deal than that, plus an additional discount code, which of course will be in the description of this video. They also suggested that they will have even further discounts on the base price during the upcoming June sales, so do keep an eye on those. From my quick research, this shop offers probably one of the best prices on this Flieger, and somewhat probably even more important, they have one of the highest levels of sales of these watches and a very decent feedback rating on the product listings and on the shop. And as for my verdict, should you consider this watch, should you shortlist it, or should you just go ahead and buy it? Well, if you are after a big pilot homage, then I would definitely recommend to go right ahead and buy this timepiece. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And if you're after some more cool, great value budget and maybe not so budget watches, well, check out my playlist. I will put it on screen probably over here, and most likely we'll put another one somewhere on this side too. And if you find this review helpful, do hit that like button, and of course don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one.